Click, 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 click. As I look around, they don't do it like my click, click, click.
It was 1979. I was 11 years old and just about to taste victory for the first time. An event that would be the start of an epic journey into a boy's fight against bullying and life's hardships. It was 3 months earlier that I'd started boxing and martial arts training to combat the constant bullying that had become my daily existence. And now, after winning my first fight, I made a promise to myself never to be a victim again. Over the next 3 years, I lived, breathed and thought about nothing but training and fighting. I boxed another 17 times, losing only 2 of these fights. I achieved a black belt in martial arts and won numerous competitions in this as well. At this time, as a 14-year-old boy, that I would come across by accident the art of Muay Thai, or Thai boxing as it's more commonly known, not realising that this would become my bliss, my passion, and ultimately my whole life. I'm a great believer in seeing positive things out of negative events, and this was never more true than that what would transpire over the next 3 decades of my life. Finding myself with lots of spare time after getting expelled from school for teaching the bullies a painful lesson, I was reading a martial arts magazine one day and saw an article about some Thai boxing masters that had come to England and set up camp teaching in Manchester. The hairs stood up on the back of my neck, the butterflies started in my stomach, and I just instinctively knew that this was what I needed to do. So off I went to Derbyshire bus station, and £3.40 later I arrived at Charlton Street bus station in Manchester's Piccadilly. I was heading for Newton Street, the home of Master Toddy. I found it relatively easy, and upon climbing the creaky winding staircase, it opened up into a vast reception area, and this is where I first saw the smiling demeanour of this man that would change my life forever. Between the ages of 14 and 17, I would make the commute to Master Toddy's as often as I could, alternating between a 7-hour round journey by bus, which I could afford but hated, and by train, which I couldn't afford, so constantly hid in the toilets or had to change carriages, constantly avoiding the ticket man. I also, during this time, completed a sports exercise, anatomy and physiology diploma at Derby College, not bad for someone kicked out of school. Between college in the week in Derby and weekends training and fighting in and around Manchester in the North East, I finally managed to pass my test, got a car at 17 and finished college and started driving to Manchester daily. For the next 2 years I travelled and fought all over the country. It was during this time that I was offered the chance to go and train in Thailand myself. A once in a lifetime offer I couldn't refuse. However, there was a problem. I had no job, no money, as all I did was train and fight. I only had to find my airfare, everything else will be covered by Master Toddy. But still, £300 was a lot of money, and with no job prospects, I had to act fast. So cap in hand, I asked my parents, "Look son, don't you think it's about time you did something with your life and got a proper job?" they said. After sulking and begging for a few days to no avail, I decided to take matters into my hands myself. I started a window cleaning round in Elveston, where I grew up, throughout the summer months. The trip to Thailand was planned for the end of September, and by mid-August I was still a little short with the money. During my early boxing years, I'd collected quite a lot of boxing memorabilia, photos I'd taken with various champions, people like Frank Bruno, Nigel Benn, Terry Marsh, Barry McGuigan, far too many to mention, but I knew one of my friends was interested in them, so I sold him a lot, a decision I would later regret, but at this time, my tunnel vision allowed me no other option. It was now 1987, I had purchased an open-ended ticket and the family had gathered for my final night in England. My parents had finally relented after realising I was serious and had had a whip round for me, something I massively appreciated as it allowed me to stay in Thailand a lot longer than planned. At 18 I landed in Bangkok and headed to the first of several training camps I would train with in Thailand, the Sortanikul camp. It now became apparent that I only needed to find my airfare, as Master Toddy had matched me with the Japanese champion to fight in Tokyo in 2 weeks' time. The champion was rated in the top 10 of the world. Not only that, but I had over 10 kilos to lose in weight. Now the game was finally on. The training was torturous, worse than anything I'd previously experienced. I thought I was fit, I was wrong. I thought I was strong, I wasn't. I thought I was good, wrong again. The things I would learn about myself at this time and the experiences I gained were life skills so important I would never be the same person again. I ran in sweatsuits in over 100 degrees heat. I trained 7 hours a day. I was limited to one meal a day and eventually it was time to fly to Japan. By this time I was paranoid about my fighting weight, so as soon as I arrived at my hotel, I jumped onto the bathroom scales. To my sheer horror, I was 3 pounds overweight. I was too young to realise my body had swollen from the flight and retained water. My trainers told me not to worry, but still I panicked and carried on starving myself. Big mistake. Day of the fight came. Twice I failed the weight, but eventually I made it. The fight was on, but I was in no shape to fight at all. I could vividly remember going to the KFC for food, as we were paranoid about eating back at the hotel just in case the Japanese tried to spike our food. As I struggled with my chicken and black coffee, Rob Carmen, a very famous Dutch fighter who was top of the bill, handed me some vitamins. Here, he said, these will help, and they did. Within a few hours I started to feel better. I was now ready for the fight of my life. After dropping the champion in the first round with a head kick and in receiving a dubious 12-second long count, I had to settle for a decision win in the end, but I had finally done it. Now it was back to Thailand for the trip and the adventure of a lifetime. I would stay in Thailand for another 6 months, living, training and fighting in various camps before being forced home with a back injury. So back in Derby with no job and unable to fight, I took a job as a bouncer in various clubs and pubs throughout the city centre, whilst also renting out rooms in leisure centres, function rooms in pubs and back rooms in bodybuilding gyms, teaching friends Thai boxing. Once my back started feeling better, I ventured back to Manchester, this time training with Master Sken, another Thai master, and it was through him that I met the most pivotal man and role model and life coach in my life, a man called William Hilditch. It was through my association with William that I learned more about life in general than at any other point in my previous 20 years. So after many years of working the doors and teaching people in function rooms, I saved up enough money to open my full-time gym, and I named it Studio 2000. This was in honour of William Hilditch and the gym we originally trained in together in Bridge Street in Manchester. The reputation I'd gained through working the doors and through my travels saw people flock into the gym. All my friends trained, they told their friends, but they also brought their children. The classes snowballed, and before I knew it, I was teaching 7 days a week, 60 hours plus. My dream of making a living doing something I loved with a passion had finally became a reality. The euphoria I had from having my own gym, the first of its kind in Derbyshire, coupled with the daunting feeling I had of knowing I would probably never fight again, was a constant battle in my head. It was only after I started producing champions of my own that I realised I got more satisfaction from giving back to others and making their dreams and goals come true than I ever did of achieving my own. I produced champions on all levels, juniors and adults, but it was something I never anticipated that would finally make me realise the direction I wanted Studio 2000 to go. Parents were constantly bringing their children to me, asking for help with bullying and confidence issues. So raking up past memories I'd buried deep inside, coupled with the experiences I had gained worldwide, I set about implementing a dedicated life skills programme for children aged from 5 to 15. These classes became the backbone of Studio 2000, and still to this day, 16 years after first opening, when a parent comes to me and tells me I have made a massive positive difference to their son's or daughter's life, I feel immense pride and realise all my experiences have allowed me a privileged life. A life blessed with the ability to give back, to make the world a better place.
click, 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 click. As I look around, they don't do it like my click, click, click.